Hi everyone, Ashley here. So this week for our discussion, I chose option number 2, which is to find a study that discusses the potential positive or negative effects of preschool non-parental childcare on children's development. And I actually found an article that is, or a study that was based out and is based out of Australia. This specific one is called Maternal Employment and Children's Socio-Emotional Outcomes, an Australian longitudinal study. And the objectives and the purpose and what this kind of was looking at, the study was looking at, it was examining how maternal employment influences children's social emotional outcomes in life and their internalizing and externalizing behaviors. So to give you a little bit of background, this Australian longitudinal study has been going on for a long time, and basically it follows the lives of about 10,000 Australian young people and their families, and it examines the development and well-being over like the course of their life in relation to like parenting, family, education, childcare, health, and the data is continuously collected. So every 2 years they'll collect data from the families, just to interpret and to study and find different questions on how having parents who are working is related to the health of children and people as they grow and get older. The data is collected through interviews and questionnaires with self-reporting questionnaires with mothers, fathers, carers, so being like preschool teachers, etc., from teachers and also the children. And of that data that is collected, this particular article narrowed it down to just families whose children still had both biological parents. So of the 10,000 families, there was about a sample of about 7,500 children that were used in this article and talking about the effects of the social emotional outcomes. So the findings of this study basically found that children with employed mothers actually display better social emotional outcomes than children with non-employed mothers. So they found that more association, they were stronger in like the internalizing problem behaviors, such as like fear, anxiety, depression. Those kind of behaviors were higher. There were more associations, or were lower. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what I mean. And yeah, I found this article interesting because, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a minute. I found this to be really interesting because I lost my train of thought and I need to backtrack. So they displayed fewer internalizing behaviors and also fewer externalizing behaviors, such as like aggression and negative practices, inabilities to concentrate. And I found this article really interesting because it is based out of Australia, and most of the data, and it even states this in the article, that most of the data that is used is based out of the US, and most of the US data and articles and research done on this show that there isn't very much of an association between maternal employment and socio-emotional outcomes in the US. However, in Australia, there is. So that's one point that I obviously found very interesting. But I also thought that what I really liked about the article also is that it discusses how, I need to find the exact wording of this so I don't botch it. But it talked about how some of the limitations were, I think varying different types of, sorry, I'm looking for it in here. The varying types of childcare services that are out there, and what makes the Australian childcare services different than US childcare services, and why there would be that. It discusses that they don't know why, and they're but that could be a potential reason. And yeah, so that's what I have, and I found it a little bit interesting, and I also just think that's a really awesome study, that it's going to continue to follow these people throughout their lives, and yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, and I hope you all have a great weekend. Bye.